as is also required under that statute. And Mr. Booth.
Present.
Thank you, sir.
All righty, we need approval of our agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Call roll.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Bechtold?
Yes.
Ms. Kuchenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
All right. And Mr. Terman?
Yes.
All right, the agenda is approved as presented.
Next on the agenda is the approval of the disbursements. Has everybody had time to review them and have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple, if I may.
Go ahead.
On page 8, and they're more curiosity than anything, but on page 8, under recreation, we have outhouse toilet rentals. It says rec field service. Was that because we needed additional, our facilities wouldn't have the activities going on, or was there a problem with the facilities?
Mr. Chair, if I might, yes, we had a more of a capacity issue than a lack of any issue with the equipment or anything. We just needed more than we had.
Okay, I was just checking. My next question is on page 10, under EMS, and it's, let's see, where is it? I'll find it. It's 6014 account, and it's to National Bank. It says EMS bidding, $5,164. I was just curious what that was.
Yeah, I was going to say something.
Again, if I might, Mr. Chair, so one of the most frequently occurring requests from the EMS staff was an upgrade in their bedding. In terms of the mattresses, the mattresses were not very pleasant, and since we're asking folks to work 24-hour shifts, it did seem that, and they're working really hard, that when they're there, maybe they should have a little bit nicer bed. So that replaced all of the beds for the paid staff.
How many is that?
Was it 6, 8?
Eight.
8. Yeah, 8.
8 beds?
Yeah.
And that would be linens?
Correct. There's some
Well, it's the
Some
bed
linens.
itself. Some linens
Yeah, I
in the
get
bed
that,
itself.
but the beds?
twin bed, mattress, and some of the linens, yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, that was all I had. I thought that might be what that was, but I just felt like I needed to get an answer, so that's all I had, sir.
Okay. Anyone else?
No, you got mine.
Nothing else? I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve the disbursements for this end of May.
I'll second.
Motion second, call roll.
All right, on the motion to approve disbursements as presented, Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtold,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
and Mr. Terman.
Yes.
All right, they are approved. Thank you. And- Okay, thank you, sir.
All righty, approval of the minutes. We have April the 7th, take that back, April the 12th and April the 14th for budget work sessions. So we can probably take them both together.
I got a
Go ahead.
question. I just noticed on the March 7th, down at the, or March 1st, down at the very bottom, it just said we were gonna adjourn back to February the 22nd. I thought maybe that date might need to, we was going backwards there in time.
Yep, you are accurate. So I can fix that right now.
There you go.
Thank you.
So I'll take,
So I'm going to update that, I believe it was March 22nd.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to say. Thank you. I have just corrected it, if that's okay.
So I take a motion to approve April the 12th and April the 14th.
So moved.
I'll second.
Call roll.
Okay. So on the motion to approve the minutes from April 12th and April 14th, Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtold,
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
yes, and Mr. Terman.
Yes.
All right, and then, do we want to do a separate one for
Yeah,
the
for the March.
first?
On, I'll take a motion to approve March the 1st with the corrections.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Motion is second. No other discussion, call the roll.
Okay. On the motion to approve the minutes from March 1, with corrections as noted and already made electronically, Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtold,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
and Mr. Terman.
Yes.
All right. Your minutes are all approved.
And so since we're about 20 minutes ahead on our public hearing on them, we will drop down to 9 public comments. Now we'll open the floor for public comments. Before you come up, you're reminded to state your name, the district you're from. I got to read a handicap statement here. It is the intent that all persons attending the meeting of the board, regardless of a handicap and conditions, shall have an opportunity to participate. If any person present requires any special assistance, please let the board know in order that arrangements can be made.
Y'all be able to hear me anyway. Kirsten Vest, Locust Grove District. So the last time I was here, there were several of us expressing our frustration about loud noise, shooting, explosions, and everything that had been happening in our neighborhood. And right after that, there was a discussion about a noise ordinance, and you all discussed that, and seemed like there were lots of excuses as to why you couldn't do or shouldn't do a noise ordinance. And I think I might know why, or at least part of the reason why. I discovered yesterday and today that there was a piece of property, several parcels in Czech, that had been sold to a company called Hill Holler LLC on May 13th, 2022. And we had been hearing through the grapevine for the last several years that Floyd Fest was going to have to move venues, that they were no longer going to be able to use their site in Patrick County, and that this might very well be their last year. And the word that I got yesterday that started me on this search was that, did you hear Floyd Fest is going to be in Czech now? And that really concerned me, especially because of where they said it was, which is this property is, and what was sold for $2.25 million, almost double what the tax added value is. And you can't find anything out about this LLC except that it was just formed in December of 2021. And it's a big concern because that area of Czech is right on 221. It bordered this property that was sold, borders on 221 and Timberline Road, and Meadow Run on the backside. I'm not sure the property goes that far. That is the main thoroughfare for people who travel to and from work every day to Roanoke. And there's a church nearby, there's an elementary school not too far away from there. And the concern is, before this went through, was anybody consulted? I mean, it may not be anything at all, but it just seems kind of odd, and I just wanted to bring it to your all's attention Because it seems to me if somebody's going to plunk down $2.25 million, and, oh yeah, and there's a little coincidence that there's a Floyd Fest stage of the 9 stages that they have. One of them is called Hill Holler Stage. And it has been, Hill Holler Stage has been a part of Floyd Fest, one of their stages for many, many years. A little bit of a coincidence there? I don't think so. Anyway, my point about that was that somebody's not going to plunk down $2.25 million if they weren't already assured ahead of time that they would be able to get the permits that they need and the VDOT permission that they need to have a large festival like Floyd Fest or something very similar in that location. So, does anybody know about it? If you did know, have the neighbors been asked? Has VDOT been consulted? Because that's going to put a hurting on the commuters. And interestingly, the noise ordinance that was done away with, there is an ordinance on the books about music festivals, and it used to say that when the noise ordinance was in effect, it used to say that anything that was unreasonable sound. Now it doesn't say that. It also says that they only have to be quiet from 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. So working people are going to have a hard time sleeping if that's what's going to happen. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention, and if you didn't know about it, maybe do some investigating. Thank you.
Dan Vest, Locust Grove District. Reading the Beacon last week, I was kind of inspired to come up here and talk about a few things. I got a few questions based on the tax increase. With this recent tax increase, have we not had a tax increase about each year for the past 3 years? Is this a sign of a failure on the county's part in managing our resources? Was this tax increase primarily due to debt incurred through the school system? I think so. Did you work with the school system to weed out the wants from the needs? Or did you just accept requests without question? With the recent increase in real estate values, are you going to lower the levy rate next year after the appraisals are done, just to make us feel better? How could any of you not see this coming? After all, the planning and approval of these loans that got us the county into debt were forced through the EDA, right through his doors right there. You also put up Indian Valley Elementary School as collateral. I'm aware of that. From my perspective, if I was receiving commissions for the past few years on the increasing real estate values here in the county, maybe I wouldn't think a 2-cent increase would be a big deal either. To sum it up all, I think the board has the lack of the ability to say no, and now we have to pay for your decisions. Not everybody included in that. Now, physical acumen is not developed when you always have the fallback of increasing private property taxes. If the county did their job and attracted full-time employers to the industrial park by providing good roads and infrastructure, maybe we would not be dealing with this tax increase every year. Every landowner, I can personally say this, every landowner and farmer that qualifies should start the process of putting their open land in a conservation easement. This stops this mess. It does not allow you to get in everybody's pocket. That way you will be really limited in using the county's land as a fallback to fund your poor decisions. All this talk about preserving Floyd starts here at the county level. So far, I see the opposite in your behavior. Thank you.
Seeing no one else, I will end the public comment period. And we still got a few minutes. We've got board time. Anybody got anything you want to bring up?
Mr.
Go ahead, Jay.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
One thing that I wanted to bring up, we have our committee that's supposed to go around to look at our equipment. And even though we're well into the budget session, during the pandemic, we did suspend that. I think that's something we need to put up at the top of the priority to give a handle on our first responders' equipment and exactly what kind of shape it's in.
I agree with you on that. We've been remiss even after the pandemic, getting started again. And I believe we need to do that. So.
Maybe my suggestion is instead of waiting until the next budget session starts, maybe sometime over the summer or sometime or other, we could get the committee together and get a look at it, and then we can compare the conditions of what the equipment currently is with where it was prior to the pandemic starting, and kind of get that ball rolling again so we can get back on our schedules.
Okay. All right. I think Linda will.
Yeah, I have a couple of things. I just want to reaffirm that we wanted to do road visits, Chairman Terman, and I don't know if David Clark he said he was going to be away again. If, Madam County Administrator, you could kind of keep a bug in that man's ear about us running around this county and looking at these roads that we really want him to see, that we want to show him.
I'd like,
Would you
you
like
know,
me to say this?
because I've been on him since November. I got a lady on my district. I got a voicemail on my phone right now where she won't know where we're at, and I've brought it up every meeting. And they say, oh, yeah. And so the last meeting, he said, well, I'm going to be gone. I said, well, would you get whoever your replacement is, contact me? I haven't had a word. And she's getting irate. I don't blame her. And I agree with Linda. We
Maybe
need,
Chris Price.
yeah.
Mr. Chair, if I might, on this particular issue, I actually was on a video conference call today with 7 different VDOT employees, which included Mr. Clark. And he will be at our next meeting, the day meeting. I will alert him of your concerns. We did talk about, and this was some part of what I was going to talk about when we get to my report, but just as kind of a preview on that, Mr. Chair and I had talked about maybe picking a date in the fall to do a couple of things, go back to do the prioritization work. We'd actually talked about maybe doing, starting down the path of looking at capital and equipment needs, potentially together, to Mr. Booth's question. And then also have the transportation folks come that day. And so Mr. Clark is agreed to do that in the fall, and also bring Jessica, and I apologize, I've forgotten her, Miller, maybe? To come to the meeting as well. As one of the planners to help us work through all this. But if you wouldn't mind, if you want to send me or just let me know what those particular places are again, I will prompt him on those specific items.
Right.
Is that fair?
When I first came on the board with Mr. Allen and Mr. Gerald was here, we all met down here one morning, and we just rode the county. And we said then, we want to keep this going maybe at least once a year so that I'm a visual person. I have to see it so I know what I'm talking about. And I'm sure they're the same way. I can sit up here all day and preach to them what this road looks like, and unless they ride it and see it for themselves, they don't know. And I'll be glad to send you that. It's DeHart Store Road, just. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
if I may, when Justin and I came on board in 2018, that spring, we all got together and rode the entire county then too.
I forgot about that one,
Yep, we did.
And I kind of like that idea. I mean, if it suits everybody else, because I know the roads in my district, but and I hear from other members the condition of their roads. But like you said, without seeing it, it's hard for me to visualize it. And it helps me try and support y'all, and y'all support me if we're all together and we just ride the entire county.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we may have to make it a double trip. We may have to take half a county one day and the other half next, week or so later. Because we do have a lot of roads in this 383 square mile.
And
I'll send an email tonight.
Okay.
And I just want to remind everybody about the solid waste ordinance. I mean, I know it's front and center, it seems like every other day, but that we really do need to really take a deep dive and, analyze it and look it over. Mr. Booth and I received a very thoughtful email this past weekend, and it's weighing on county citizens. And this gentleman did not, I mean, he complained, but he didn't just complain. He talked through stuff and is very thoughtful and very much appreciated. Not to speak for you, Jerry, but for me. And I just want to make sure that we keep that front and center, because I think that's, a very big challenge as well. So just, using my board time, get on my trash soapbox. Solid waste, excuse me.
Got anything to leave out?
Nope, I'm good.
All righty. Well, we got 5 minutes.
Jade said break time.
All righty. Is there anything you can get on yours during that time?
Sure, we could do that, or if you wanted to, I can do that, or we can start on just maybe 12A and B, because there's really not any action
that's
required
fine.
there, just so we don't forget them. Just on the first one, 12A, which is mowing bid update. Wanted to let you know that as requested, the mowing bid was in the paper. And so we're accepting requests for folks to put in a sealed bid to do work for both the county administration buildings, the EDA, the Commerce, so basically the EDA and Commerce Park buildings, and then also work on the rec field. And and the rest of the park up there. And we would certainly entertain folks who wanted to do maybe part of that. So if we could have one that did all of it, or maybe two to divide it out, because it does require special equipment to do some of the rec work. So that would potentially allow some other folks to have the ability to participate if they wanted to, and get us more bidders possibly. So if you know anyone who'd like to put in a sealed bid, we'd love to do that. And
When do they do again?
what is the date? I just had it up.
Yeah, I know.
I forgot to grab my
What
note.
does what do?
The
The
bid for
bids are
the-
due for mowing. I don't remember. I read it this morning again.
June 6th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just
Appreciate
wanted
that.
to put that out there at 4 PM
Sealed bid, yes, thank you. Thank you, Ms.
Thursday.
McCormick.
Thursday.
Thank you. And then real quickly too, we can talk, and I'll ask these two to help me with this a little bit. Of course, as you know, we've been talking to potential vendor for new software for all of our financial and budgeting work. And some of you all were participated in that first meeting. And since then, we followed up on several of the questions and issues that were raised, as I understand, in that meeting. Sorry that I missed it. I was out of town that day, but I think Kim did a great job, and Chris, of representing kind of what we were looking for. And so we had a couple of things that we have worked on. There were some questions raised about DMV stops, and thanks actually to Ms. Marsh's staff, we've been able to get a good contact with DMV and start working through some of those issues. So thank you to Caleb and to Ms. Marsh for her help on that. And then today, Chris and Kim, and then I joined in partway through after the transportation meeting, had a call with some of the IT folks from that same vendor to work through some of those issues and some of those questions. So I don't know if there's more that we need to add on that, but so we can report all of that back to you as we move forward. But want to let you know we're continuing to look through that and other vendors, and we'll also be placing some calls. We have a list for folks who have moved from our existing system to the system we're considering, and calling them to ask them about their experiences and what they would do again and not again. And we'll be calling a variety of different folks in county government in those counties.
Go ahead and make
Yeah,
it quick.
I just want to say, I really appreciated the ability to attend that and was very pleased to see how many folks from our counties, also government, were there, and that was very, very positive. So thank you.
Steve, to go from this to our public hearing, I don't adjourn this one. Just,
Declare the public hearing open.
okay, I don't have to do nothing with this meeting?
No.
Okay, all righty. Well, we're right on the money then, so.
Hearing within a meeting.
Okay, all righty. So I may stop the first two things or three things on our public hearing thing, and because it's going to be a meeting in a meeting. And I know we got a quorum, so. So with that, I will open our public hearing on public permit fees and planning changes. If you want to bring us up to date on that, so.
Sorry. So,
That's all right.
You're declaring it open?
Yes.
all right. So, Ms. Chair and members of the board, as you know, during our budget deliberations, one of the things that we brought forward as staff is a review of some of our existing fees, particularly as it relates to building permits and other permits that come from the building official. And we would note that those fees have not been updated in a number of years. And so Mr. Bolt and I spent some time looking at what some of the surrounding counties and other counties that are of similar size to us, who are not necessarily surrounding counties, charge for some of these services. And so those recommendations, per your request, you all's request, have been published in the paper. They've been advertised twice as required, both on May 5th and May 12th, so twice in the paper of record. And so at this point, I have not received any written comments. I haven't gotten any phone calls or anything like that. And then the second piece of fees that was also advertised is related to the planning fees. And for the most part, that was getting payment up front as opposed to after a great deal of work has been done. And then people kind of stop halfway. And then also, once you went past 3 different reviews, at that point, there could be potentially an extra charge for that. And so that was all advertised as well. And so, of course, now you're at the point of public hearing about this. And should you choose, I believe, you would be within your rights to start looking at an ordinance revision related to this and take a vote. But, of course, you need to have the public hearing.
Okay.
Anything else?
I think that's good.
Okay, thank you.
Do y'all want to speak on building permit fees, anything?
How about a building permit revision? I live down Chat.
Okay.
As you already know. I see the green boxes a lot of times filled full of construction waste. Added to these building permits, there should be a ticket or something where the building permit people talk to the solid waste people. And the contractors that are building these things, tearing down decks, whatever, should be taking that refuse to the solid waste disposals that are up here on Stoker's Knob or whatever it is. And there should be some accounting for that. Instead of filling, like I said, filling the green boxes up and using our resources and the county resources to carry that stuff off, that needs to be included in the price of building, and it needs to be taken up here, and not, the county shouldn't transport it for them.
We already working on that.
Good.
So,
I just had a question, I actually did look at the price increases and just a question. I know that Dr. Millsaps just said you kind of looked at what other counties were doing. So is that why like some fees were increased only $10 while others were increased like $30 or more?
that's our next hearing. Is it on this one?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
go ahead,
Yes.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
If I
I'm the
might.
one that got ahead, I'm sorry.
That's fine. So if I might, Mr. Chair, so there's kind of two reasons that drive those things. One was, you are correct, ma'am, that is related to what other folks, again, either surrounding, although recognizing some of our surrounding jurisdictions are not really similar. So we also looked at some ones that are of similar size but not here. The second item actually has to do with the amount of time that it takes our folks to do that work. And so one of the examples, again, if I might, that we talk about quite a bit is, for instance, air conditioning permit has been a flat fee. And of course, there's a big difference between one unit in a 1,200 square foot house and someone who has a very large house that might have 3-4 units. And so one might take half hour, 40 minutes, and the other might take half a day. So that's kind of the two things that drove the staff recommendation.
Yeah, thank you.
If there's no other public comment, we will have to take that up later. Steve, will have to guide us on our next steps on this. And,
I think that you can, well, first, I guess, if there's no public comment, I declare the public meeting
yeah,
closed
closed.
at 7:35, I guess. And then you can have a motion, you've advertised it twice in accordance with state code, so you could have a motion to adopt the fee schedule as advertised if you're so inclined.
Okay. You have anything to add, Jerry, before we go?
I apologize, no. I did have one question on it, if I may.
Go ahead.
It's on it's where she sent the list out to us, that lists all the charges. On the last page, it says, erosion sediment control plan review, $500. Now, that would be a review on anything that is 10,000 square feet or more. Was that correct?
Yes, so.
Or is that just for any review?
Yes, it is for any review that, but it is large enough that it requires an erosion settlement control review and plan. So, as you know, Mr. Booth, that in and of itself kind of suggests it's not a normal backyard project that I would do at least.
I'm sorry, I missed part of what you said. The reason I asked, I know that unless something's changed, as long as you're not disturbing over 10,000 square feet, then you don't have to have a permit. But I know sometimes there are requests for review to make sure that it complies, and that's why I'm asking, is it on any review or only reviews of ones 10,000 square feet or more?
So I think the question you're asking is if someone, I think the question you're asking is if someone contacts the erosion and sediment control official and asks, do I have to have a plan for this? I'm disturbing, 1,100 square feet. Does a fee apply to that question? Is that what you're asking?
Basically, I'm just asking if it applies to anything under the 10,000 square feet minimum.
It's by requirement.
If a plan is not required to be reviewed, then there will be no fee for anyone who contacts the official to verify that.
Okay, I'm just asking, I know there's a lot of farmers and a lot of people that will be wondering that, so that's why I just bring it up so that it's out there.
It's a fair question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, if nobody's got anything else, I'll take a motion. And
To adopt the fees as advertised?
right, okay.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion is second.
Can we have discussion a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to thank Mark Bolt, county staff, County Administrator Millsaps, Deputy County Administrator Cheeto, for all of their work in developing this. This had a lot of time spent on it, and it really does bring us in line with surrounding jurisdictions as well as those that are the same size as you were stating. And I just wanted to publicly go on record as thanking you for all that work. Thank you.
Call the roll.
All right. Chair, on the motion to approve the new building permit fees and planning charges as advertised, twice as required, Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
thank you, and Mr. Terman.
Yes.
All right, so those, we'll move forward with that. Thank you all
Okay.
very much.
Next, we have our, also place public comment on the building permit fees and planning charges.
That was all combined.
Yeah, we
Oh,
put that
that's all
yeah.
combined? Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's what I asked a while ago.
Yeah. Sorry, so the
All right.
first, yeah,
Oh, I see where you're at, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think we're down to 11, closed session, if you're ready to go to closed session.
Okay, I have to declare the, oh, it's done.
Mr. Chairman, if
Okay.
I may, for the closed session, for item B, I think that it would be appropriate to add, not only that it's under 2.23711A8, but A7, or actual or threatened litigation,
Okay,
consultation with legal counsel.
okay. So I will take a motion to go into closed session or 2.2-3711A5, 2.2-3711A8, and A7.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and you've got the general topic on A5 is already stated in the agenda. And for A7 and A8, it would be concerning litigation that has been filed concerning several public officers.
Okay, all right.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion second, go ahead.
Okay. So on the motion to, sorry?
You say something, Jerry?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. When my vote's taken, I need the statement added to the minutes that I'm in a secure location and no one can hear our discussions.
We'll do it.
All right, thank you very much for that, Mr. Booth.
Go ahead.
Okay, so with that addendum, on the motion to go to closed session under 2.23711A5, 2.23711A7, and 2.23711A8. Ms. Cookenbook?
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
All right, and Mr. Terman?
Yes,
All right, thank you.
and we
And we
shall be
will-
back around midnight, I guess.
Be reaching out to Mr. Booth separately in closed session, and we'll have Tabitha join us for a part of this, and our attorney, and Ms. Cheeto and myself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm out of closed session.
So moved?
Second.
Motion second, call the roll.
Having some,
If that's all, I'm gonna get
See you.
See Steve.
See you
Safe
Thursday.
travels.
Have a good evening.
See you Thursday.
all right. On the motion to come out of closed session, Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtold,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
and Mr. Terman.
Yes.
Okay,
I take a certification motion that we only discussed those things we went into closed session for.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, call the roll.
all right. On the motion to certify that we only spoke about things in closed session that we were supposed to talk about in closed session, Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtold,
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes.
and Mr. Terman.
Yes.
All right. So we
And
finished.
then I will just remind you that my statement will be in a secured place.
Will do.
Okay. All right.
So we're out of closed session.
We're out of closed session, and I think, Ms. Cherry, you've covered everything up to 12C. So we are at.
You get the Zoom meeting?
Well, that was to talk about the munis, which
Oh,
we did.
okay.
Yes, thank you though for the reminder. And then so that maybe wasn't clear before, so we did a larger Zoom meeting to do an initial, thank you, introduction. And then today, there was a follow-up. Sorry, I'm getting tired now.
It's late.
Then there was a follow-up conversation today related to IT. And so we covered both of those in previous conversation, but we did not separate them out.
All righty. Good.
Okay. Mr. Chair, if I might, the next item, and we probably should have matched, hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers, for you all to potentially do an action item related to moving forward with awarding some of the ARPA funds that you currently have, and I believe you have your spreadsheet in the packet of what's been expended, what's been requested, et cetera. At this time, two of the items are becoming a little bit more time sensitive, so that's why I'm bringing those two particularly to your attention. The easier one to explain is the administration building HVAC. It is becoming more and more challenging, particularly the one unit on this side, but both are in significant need of replacement. Mark and I have talked several times about we will probably, the estimate we got was actually a pretty good estimate. And so we would like to move forward with units for, the 2 units for this building. And we would be looking at the more efficient units, certainly much more efficient than we have. So hopefully that would help a little bit with our long-term cost. And candidly, the other reason is those are the ones that are more available right now. So we can get those soon. If we went for the bargain basement version, we would actually have to wait quite a while. So that's the first one. And then the second is a request and a little bit more information too about the playground. And of course, this is in reference to the playground at the recreation park. We continue to have, unfortunately, some erosion of time with some of that equipment. And so on the upside, we're working with a nonprofit here in town, and someone is actually helping us find a little bit of grant money. So we're going to submit something. It certainly won't pay for it. The maximum of that would be $10,000. But we did follow your advice and have gone out and started looking for other resources to try to hopefully supplement it and minimize the cost. But if you all would consider allowing us to move forward and look for something in X range, and we can maybe clarify that a little bit later or now, but if we could start, if you're willing, move forward on those two projects.
You just need a consensus on that.
I think to get us started, and then I can bring you back a particular, we would like to do this, which is, and get
Action
your
item.
action on that particular one. So we wouldn't actually spend the money until I have an actual quote and bid back. Well, that one would be in both cases, yeah.
In both cases, okay.
Yeah, we could probably even move quicker on the HVAC if you would like to do that.
Do you
So
wanna-
that one would probably need to be a motion, and then the playground could be, I think, a consensus, since I'm not asking, just asking for permission to start moving forward.
Chairman?
Have a question, if I may.
Go ahead.
If we move forward on either one or both of these projects, what are we anticipating? Paying for it and then using the reimbursement when the other allotment of money comes back in, or do you think that the cost would come up prior to the other money coming in?
Mr. Chair, if I might, we actually still have enough funding available in the funds we've already received to cover both the estimate that we were given for the HVAC and the amount that was, the amount that was requested or recommended by me for the playground equipment.
Okay, I was just double checking on that.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question too before the motion? So when we look down at that bottom line and see total expended, column G, that's with these things that we haven't spent yet. Right, okay. So with that question answered, I would make a motion, if you're ready.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to move forward with the replacement of the existing aging HVAC system on our county building here, the administration building, and authorize whatever signatures need to be made by whomever in our county government.
I second.
Motion second, go ahead.
All right, thank you. On the motion to move forward with using the ARPA funding to replace the aging HVAC systems in the administration building and appropriate signatures. Ms. Cookenbook?
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
All right, and Mr. Terman?
Yes.
All right, thank you. The staff thanks you wholeheartedly.
Don't want to not have AC, do you?
Wimps.
All right, and then if I might, do we have a consensus? I'm moving forward on something in playground, and we'll bring particular things to you. That would be great. Okay, thank you for that.
Down there at my granddaughter's ball game Sunday, and I was sort of watching that up there, and you know, even that equipment's being used a lot,
Yeah,
this way it is.
yeah, liability, yeah.
So we need to get something done.
All right. So, Mr. Chair, if I might keep going, so we can all go home soon?
Yes, please.
I figured you might appreciate that. Under 13A, new business, as you all are aware, Mr. Philip Belcher, who has been our EMS operations manager, has informed us that would like to retire from that position. And he has been kind enough to offer to go to part-time for a little bit to help us with the transition period. So wanted to make sure you all were aware of that. And we are using this as an opportunity to go back and look at the position description. And we feel like, Kim, myself, and Kevin feel like that it's a good time to update that and make it a little bit more reflective of what I think all of us need that position to be. And so we'll be moving forward with posting that position and get it to the paper here before Monday. So we can go ahead and do that. So we'll move forward with that. Remote attendance policy. I sent this, and I think I included it in your packet. That's just what the current statute says. And by way of background, of course, before COVID, there was very significant restrictions on the ability to do any kind of remote participation. With COVID, there was an emergency order, and that allowed much more remote participation. And then relatively recently, the General Assembly has essentially said that same level can continue, and so that's what that statute says. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, that there is a limitation if you, on the number of times that you can participate remotely for just personal reasons, like you're on vacation or something like that, or a business meeting. But of course, there's a couple of categories that you can use unlimited for things particularly like medical. So just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. I did ask Mr. Durbin about, we have a remote attendance policy that is now, that had been adopted, that is now out of date. And I asked him, do we need to formally change that, or can we just assume it is superseded by state law? And so he felt, his initial thought was that we've been superseded by state law, but if not, we'll bring a change back to you in short order. But just wanted to bring that to your attention. Questions about that?
I have a question in terms of the 25%. I had spoken with Mr. Durbin on another item, and we got onto this topic. And he said that our budget meetings count as well as our meetings. And so 25% would add up to a few more. And I think that's an important distinction that I think we should maybe move forward with on the 25%. And if of the meetings held per calendar year rounded up to the next whole number, whichever is greater, and that would mean that 25% would be greater, so that would give us, and I guess it would change from year to year.
Right. No, sorry, we're just hearing this weird
Yeah, I
talking
know.
every once in a while. I'm not sure what that is. It's not the printer. The printer is going, but there's something else. But anyway, so
So
We
we go
will-
to 25% of the
total.
24 meetings we have a year, or do we up it a bit to sort of cover our budget meetings?
So the statute, under the statute, it is 25% of all the meetings. So that includes your 24 regular meetings plus the budget workshop. So to Ms. Cookenbook's point, it actually increases beyond 2.
It's 22.
Of course, yeah, actually, I was getting ready to say, we just actually have 22 meetings.
Right. There's one in
But-
December, one in November.
Because I was figuring that the other day, and I thought 24, I thought we would take 2 off, one
We
December,
did
one
meet last
November.
year. Yes, we did meet last
Well,
year.
and also that would include in that number any special meetings called
Correct.
along the way too.
Yes. Yes, thank you for that clarification, Mr. Booth.
So,
Yeah. So that was just really informational, but we'll help you all keep track of that. But wanted you to know that, and again, if Mr. Durbin says we need to change ours to conform, we'll do that.
okay.
Any questions? Is she bringing up proclamations?
Believe so, she's bringing up
Proclamations?
the appreciation week stuff.
Okay, so while she's printing that out, maybe if, Mr. Chair, if it's all right, I'll jump down to some of my administrator's report.
Sure.
Are you ready? Ready. Ready? Look at that.
Freddie. Ready, Freddie?
Okay, never mind.
So easy with the printer.
Right. So, yes, and just as a side note, if you didn't notice, there's been a little housekeeping update in cleaning while we're, so with the exception of those curtains and the ones in Kevin's office, which he won't let me take down, but I might in the middle of the night. He won't know what happened. Those have all been pulled
Good job,
down.
Joanne. Yeah, I'll let you read that.
Chris and Kim and others did a lot of good work of getting some stuff cleaned up. The printers moved to the back, so it's more in a work area. And you probably didn't have reason to notice when you came in, but the 2 planters out front are now empty.
Yeah, I came in the back, sorry.
And the bushes are cut back. That is my family's gift to the county. My daughter and her boyfriend, I paid my personal money to come do it because I was fed up with it. And so to follow up to that, the Flower Power folks are going to come and put in flowers and
Natives.
natives and some educational things that'll show what these different wildflowers are.
Good.
And they're also gonna help us maintain it.
And make
So-
sure it's bee friendly.
There you go.
So that's a side note while we're getting the proclamations together. As you all know, there was a request by the chairman, I believe, to take up the law enforcement, because this is Law Enforcement Appreciation Week. And then it turned out, of course, as we already discussed, and we'll talk about some more, it was EMS week. And it turns out there's also corrections officer time.
We
So
missed that one.
these
so.
are, so we wanted, you all had requested to go ahead and do those proclamations.
We was going to do the law enforcement one first, and being as it was Levi's idea to come up with it, I'm going to let him read it. So,
All righty. So to recognize National Police Week 2022 and to honor the service and sacrifice of all those law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty while protecting our communities and safeguarding our democracy. Whereas there are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in the communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Floyd County Sheriff's Department. Whereas since the first recorded death in 1786, more than 23,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty. Whereas the names of these dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. Whereas 619 new names of fallen heroes are being added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial this spring, including 472 officers killed in 2021 and 147 officers killed in previous years. Whereas May 15th is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags should be flown at half-staff. Therefore, be it resolved that the Floyd County Board of Supervisors will observe May 11th through the 17th, 2022 as National Police Week in Floyd County, and publicly salutes the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in communities across the nation.
right, and then we had one for the correctional officers proclamation, which we was a week behind on, or more than, that was my fault. So, but it says Correctional Officers Week, whereas the correctional officers are responsible for supervising offenders in local or state correctional facilities, and whereas correctional officers promote the safety of all Virginians by supervising offender conduct and behavior to avoid conflicts and escapes, and whereas correctional officers are well-trained and dedicated to promoting positive behaviors and outcomes which improve offenders' post-release success, and whereas correctional officers are crucial to the statewide reentry initiative in reducing recidivism. Yeah, there you go. And as we play a critical role in preparing offenders for successful assimilation into their communities after release, and whereas correctional officers strive to maintain a safe working and living environment in correctional facilities throughout the Commonwealth, often in the face of significant challenges and dangers, and whereas National Correctional Officers Week was first proclaimed on May the 5th, 1984, by President Ronald Reagan to recognize the men and women who work in jails, prison, and community corrections across the country. And whereas Correctional Officers Week often offers an opportunity to acknowledge and honor Virginia's correctional officers for their vital contributions they make each day and for the sacrifices they make to protect the citizens of our great Commonwealth. Now therefore, we, the Board of Supervisors of Floyd County, do hereby recognize May the 1st through the 7th, 2022 as Correctional Officers Week in Floyd County, Virginia, and I call this observance to the attention of our citizens. Yeah, I gotta get me some water on that one. All right, the next one was our EMS week proclamation to designate the week of May the 15th through the 21st, 2022 as Emergency Medical Services Week. Whereas emergency medical service is a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical service teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas access to qualified emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. And whereas emergency medical services have grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-the-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine. And whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care for providers. And whereas the members of the emergency medical services team, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specified training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Supervisors of Floyd County, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May the 15th through the 21st, 2022 as Emergency Medical Services Week. And that's a mouthful. And I was going to take that one Thursday, but being Jerry won't be able to sign it, we'd probably just have to.
You let me know.
I'm sorry?
You let me know how you want me
Okay.
to send it.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to suggest that if sometime tomorrow, if they could put the proclamations on the table outside, I could take appropriate precautions and sign them and not go in if you need to. If not, then I have no problem if someone there signs it.
Can we add a blank check or two to it?
Depends on whether they're made out to me or not.
Yeah.
And we're just joking for the public. Please don't take that serious.
Of course we are.
But just in timely and given the situation, I just wanted to say whatever works out best. If one of y'all wish to sign it, you certainly can.
No, I can leave it outside. And
Okay.
I can call you, or you tell me what time, I'll make sure it's there, and you can let me know, and I'll pick it up and make sure, communicate that with the chair.
Can I just call you in the morning?
Absolutely.
I'll just call you in the morning. We'll set up a time, and I'll come masked and gloved and everything else and take care of it.
I'll meet you downwind.
Want you in your hazmat suit.
Yeah.
Look like a white Michelin man coming in here.
There you go.
So,
Wondering if we need to go, do we need to do a vote on this, I'm thinking, for all three, or just sign?
Yeah, we should.
what?
Should we go ahead and do a vote to approve all three?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like, is there a
ahead.
motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we sign and approve our proclamations for law enforcement, correction officer, and EMS, all three of those proclamations signed by all five of the Board of Supervisors. That's my motion.
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Chair, if I might, so on the motion to approve and have all supervisors sign all 3 proclamations to include the law enforcement proclamation, correction officer proclamation, and EMS proclamation, and facilitate their delivery to appropriate places. Ms. Cookenbook?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes, and I'm very thankful for them, and God bless them.
Ms. Bechtel?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
And Mr. Terman?
Yes,
All right. Thank you.
and that'll work out because we got that CPMT meeting tomorrow evening, I can pick it up. There you go. As if all my cattle stay in. All righty, continue on with yours.
I think we're kind of down to my report, and I'll try to be brief, but as I was mentioning the flowers, this is, I'll give you all to go out front. This is what they've proposed, just in terms of what they would look like, so just so you could see them. If I might, then moving on to EMS week. Of course, we did the EMS week and did a cookout, and that was enjoyed by all who attended. And there was some nice little cup spot for everybody so they can handle those. And I think people are at this point feeling a little more loved than before, so appreciate you all for that. Kim and I and Kevin have also met with one of the staff members there that's been gracious enough to work with us on revising some of their policies and procedures that specifically relate to EMS. Someone who also has 8 years of HR experience. So we're working with them to work through some of those, and we'll prize you as we move forward on that. So that front is all going okay. Then on, I really am afraid. Oh, okay. I really didn't think I was going to have to say these words again, but I need to give you a COVID update. As some of you know, we'd actually had a number of offices in the courthouse this last week where we've had folks that have had COVID. The offices have had to close or have limited staffing. So just wanted you all to be aware of that. As you know, we unfortunately no longer have CARES funding available, either directly or through Public Health Department to do in-depth cleaning, but at the same time, the public health people tell us just regular cleaning is good, but nonetheless, some of the folks have requested additional cleaning, and so they're taking that out of their budget. Under solid waste, a couple of updates there. We have an ad currently in the paper and have actually gotten a fair number, 3. Yeah.
3 interviews.
We have 3 folks so far that have applied, and we're gonna, Kim and Mark are gonna start interviewing them early next week, right after the holiday. I met one of them here today, and so we're moving forward on that. Mark also had kind of an all-staff meeting with them before that, let them know kind of what the direction was, and they were very pleased with the possibility of getting more staff.
Yeah.
They're feeling a little thin, so they like that. The only downside is we do have 2 green box sites that are becoming bear magnets, so we haven't pulled them, but there's a possibility they might get pulled, and one of them is, the second one I can't remember, unfortunately. I've written it down, I can't find my sticky note. One is near the Dollar General on Route 8. That's becoming really problematic.
Oh, yeah.
And I think there's one other, and I'll send you an email with what the second one. No, that one's already gone.
You know,
So I know you all had asked about that. And I will tell you, the ones that got pulled earlier, all of those were pulled at the request of the people who own the property. So just to let you know that, those are not been pulled by the staff.
you know, like I was telling you the other day, my boy almost hit a bear down here at Slaughter's heading for them the other night about 3 o'clock in the morning. Yes.
Yeah.
I told him, I said, you got that brush guard, man, you just
That's where the
tap
bears
him
are at
with.
now at the fire department. Moved from Havens Chapel down to the fire department. Let's go there.
They used to hit them hard.
Boy, every morning was trash all through the woods,
Uh,
all on the road and everything.
Another thing, so I just have a bunch of reminder notes here, so if you don't mind, I'll just run through them as I have them in here. Yeah, I have them back too, yes. As you know, you funded a part-time graduate student to start working with us in August. We have extended an offer and it has been accepted by one of those students. I spoke to her last evening. She's very excited, and so she'll be starting sometime in August. And yes, she'll be starting in August, and is actually working her summer internship. Is actually right now working on some things that are somewhat related to us. So she's when she gets those reports done, she'll be able to forward them to us, and you can see those, and we can discuss them more at that time. But
And that'll run through December? That'll run through December? Her internship with us will start in August and run through December?
no, it will run through the spring. So it is a
Oh, a full year?
academic year.
Oh, a full year. Excellent news.
Yeah, full academic year, and we'll have to, we'll get an invoice from the university for our part, and then, of course, they'll be handling her stipend directly. Again, I'm gonna go a little bit out of order, but just to kind of roll through things. On the radio system, we sent out a request for best and final to the folks who were involved in that process. It went out today, so I wanted to make sure you knew that was out there, and the response date is no later than 2 p.m. on 6/23/22. So that is moving forward. One of the items that's not on here, on your list, because it happened since we started on the agenda, is there was a gasoline spill this morning at the, actually, yeah, last night, at the Floyd County Bus Garage, and it was actually pretty sizable, so DEQ has been called in. It was 599 gallons. And unfortunately, it happened the other night during the rain, so there was really not much to be done in terms of putting out anything that would help that. So DEQ is, the schools have had to call in, or actually it's Clark, it was Clark, and they have to now have somebody come in and clean it up. So Kevin has been out working on that quite a bit in his emergency management role, but wanted to let you know about that. And it was the company that is responsible, but of course Kevin has to respond as emergency management.
Just the companies that spilled it. Thank God.
It was equipment malfunction issue.
Never a good time to dump fuel, especially at these prices.
You got there, you're down there with a sponge, getting it back up, putting it in the.
Let's see, in terms of outside meetings, which I had on the next page here, two in particular I was going to mention to you is we had our Onward board meeting this last week, elected new officers, reviewed the budget, and approved the budget, and moving forward with that. And they are actually going to have an event on January 9th, that it is to
June 9th?
June 9th, thank you, June 9th. And so I'll send information out to that, but that's actually for folks that have been, anyway, it's actually in Floyd County. So I'll send you all an invite to that and see if you will be interested.
Yeah, I'll be out of town.
Thank you. Yes, I'm getting tired, very tired. 4 o'clock was a long time ago. And then also I went to the New River Mount Rogers Workforce Development Area Consortium Board meeting. And that was useful in and of itself, but one of the big things that has come out of that is Marty, as the chair of that, and our executive director of that, has called a meeting of all of the communities that are engaged with them, either May 31st or June 1st. We have a poll out to talk about joint development of a workforce training program for EMS staff.
Excellent.
So very happy that she and her staff are helping us take up that mantle. Of course, the regional commission's been helpful too, but this is the first time we're going to have a pulled together meeting. We'll have myself, Kevin, and somebody from the high school hopefully will participate with us. So,
That's one thing about Marty. I mean, you give her an idea and she's on it.
Yep.
she is, and yeah, they did this apparently some time ago, and it didn't go very well because a lot of the counties at that time, including us, said there was a need but didn't really participate. So I've committed, we will be sending people, and we'll be getting that done. So wanted you to know about that. Onward, we did that. And the grants, I think I mentioned about the one for the playground. In addition, we've done all the ordering related to the Bearwise grant. It's taken quite a while. Had to actually get some trademark approval related to that. And Sustained Floyd has also offered to help us with the signage cost related to that as part of the match, as they had done originally. We've been working with them about that and appreciate their help. And I think that is pretty much everything that I had, other than we talked about, as I mentioned, doing, and if y'all are in favor, kind of looking to schedule a day after you approve your budget. So the last thing on your agenda is to pick a budget date. But to schedule another kind of day together, that we would start up where we left off before about priorities, have some conversation about transportation needs, and maybe see if you would like to start putting together a plan both on the maintenance side and what your priorities might be, because then VDOT and the Regional Commission can help us start looking for opportunities and can offer some more insight on to help the V-Trans process. That's another opportunity for us related to that. And capital and equipment together as part of that prioritization conversation. So that would be like another retreat date. So we'll look at that. And then finally, as you see on there, is budget workshop schedule. Today is May 24th, so you have basically a month. Other than some requests related to fuel costs, we don't have any other changes or requests that have come forward from any of our staff or any of the constitutional officers. So now we're just down to you all and taking some votes.
Well, I can say that I will not be in town, which is good for our remote, and I can do it remote in a private setting. I'll be out of town from June 1st to the 10th, back in for the 13th, our meeting on the 14th, and I'm back out the 15th to the 23rd.
Wow.
Who said that? Who went, wow? But I can attend. The earlier time, the 1st through the 10th, I will be very much available. I'll be by myself and our dogs in a secure location, so I can talk anytime there. And I am available on the 31st. I'm also going to be back in town for our meeting. I planned it that way. On the 14th, which is Flag Day.
Y'all want to try to meet one day next week?
And Mr. Chair, as you also know, you have that meeting on the 14th, so that might be also a day to consider.
Yeah, we could
Start
stay
there.
over. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you would like to
Work
do
that.
that. I don't know if you need more than one meeting.
Go ahead. Jerry.
If I may, excuse me, I'm sorry, if I may, I think the General Assembly is meeting next week to finalize the budget.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, I will too, but I think that's what they've scheduled, so I don't know that there'd be any need to meet before the 6th anyway.
All right.
Yeah,
We'll do the 14th
It
then.
works best for
yep.
me too.
Yeah, I'll plan all
In
day.
the heat.
Yeah.
I already got planned to be here on the 14th,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, with this
All
rain.
righty, well,
This is when
we'll
Laura would
figure on the
be a hard
14th
drive.
then, if that's okay with you, Jerry.
So,
Repeat that, I'm sorry, there's
I
some
said-
garble.
We'll just forget about a budget meeting until the 14th, and then we'll meet after our regular meeting.
After lunch.
Yeah. We gotta get your food in there. So-
Keep you up.
I have one question, if I could.
Go ahead.
As far as I know, I wasn't at the last meeting, but have we officially set the tax levy yet?
No?
Is that something we probably should have formally done before the due date of the 5th?
Probably would be a good idea.
Well, I was just asking because I know tax tickets have already went out, and I wasn't sure if y'all had formally done it at the last board meeting or not.
No, we held it off till you could vote.
Well, is that something we ought to go ahead and do before we adjourn tonight?
Yeah, because like I say, we're time sensitive right now, so.
Well, I just bring it up in the course of the conversation there,
Right.
meetings and budgets.
Well, I'm sure Missy would enjoy it if we give her a final answer instead of, so,
Long as it passes, she'll enjoy it.
yeah.
Is that a motion from Mr. Booth?
That's what I was getting ready to ask him. Is that a motion from you?
How does it need to be formally worded?
I believe, and those of you with more experience, I'll defer to, but I believe we would need to have a motion to set the real estate tax levy at 65 cents, which is increased from 63, 2 cents, and apply that to the fiscal year
2023.
2023. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would make that motion.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Chair?
And I will say, for everybody on the board, I did not want to raise taxes this year. Nobody did. But with the way the inflation hit us and with this upcoming fuel going up like it's going, it's going to be able to justify it because we got to get that money from somewhere. And it goes against my grain to vote for a tax increase, but go ahead and call the roll.
Okay. All right, Ms. Chair, on the motion to set the real estate tax levy for FY '23 at 65 cents, which is an increase of 2 cents from 63 cents. Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Ms. Bechtold?
No.
Ms. Cookenbook?
No.
And Mr. Terman?
Yes.
All right. So by a vote of 3-2, that has been approved, and we'll let the treasurer know.
I don't think we're going to get by fat. I think we're going to be digging out money from somewhere if this stuff keeps going. We ain't got no choice. You can cut all you want to, but the more you cut, the more you don't have to make up for it later.
I'd be curious to know the departments for this upcoming budget, what fuel gallons prices did they base that off of? Like just upcoming as we move forward here, because, was they calculating things off of $4 or $3.50 or?
Yeah, I think, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I can speak, I think generally what at least our folks did, I can speak to that, is it was not as much assuming a certain price, but just a significant, what have we been spending in a significant increase?
Yeah.
And in the budget that we originally presented as the staff recommendation, most of them were close to a 50% increase already for EMS. But I have asked, and given the information we received recently from some of the other departments, I have gone back and asked both Mark and Kevin to double check their numbers and do they feel comfortable, and we'll talk through that a little bit more. But we already anticipated on our side a pretty sizable increase.
We look at trends too,
Well,
what the trends were, what the budget was, what we've overspent already, and then kind of projecting that going through the months to the end of June. So
I think
what
we're
kind
getting
of
ready to see a
trends?
brand new trend.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Well, I was gonna say, I agreed with Joe, and my concerns are pretty much in line with Levi, on the fuel. Excuse me, I'm getting hoarse. But, there are other aspects of the budget, there are other costs involved that I think is gonna impact us too. And I think everyone put forth a good budget, but I think we're gonna have to watch. There are gonna be other cost increases besides just fuel.
You're gonna have a trickle down. You're gonna have a trickle down, and they gotta make up somewhere or another. And the money
If
that I was,
if we're gonna provide the services, yes, it's definitely gonna be some trickle down costs coming.
thing about it is, this money that I was hoping that we would see to go into stabilization, if the trends keep going like they're going now, I don't even know if we're gonna be able to do that.
I agree. I don't know that we will. We'll just have to keep a watch on that contingency fund. And we'll do what we have to keep the county moving forward, or at least running efficiently as we can. But I'm afraid there's going to be a whole lot of costs that there's no way you can calculate right at this moment. And we may see some of that starting in October.
With the runs that the EMS is making now, they're increasing, I've noticed. And I don't think our 50% increase is going to cover their gas. Now, if the price keeps going up. I talked to Tommy Sires the other day. He said they thought that they was in good position. But like I told him, I said, you don't know how many fire calls or how many calls you're going to have to respond to, and them trucks takes a lot of fuel. And then, like Brian, he had it cut down as low as he could cut it in the budget to begin with, and just his projections is throwing him way out of there. And that's a service they're going to have to go. We're going to have to provide them fuel, and plus our solid waste. That's, you can look at these green boxes, and I know up in Buffalo Mountain Road, that intersection there, it looks like it's dropped off some. I reckon there's not as much coming down the road, but they still emptying them a couple of times, I believe a time or two extra over what they had been. Them trucks get, 3 miles to the gallon?
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If they loaded, it's going to take more than that, so.
yeah.
I
think that's the case. And I've gotten I did ask, I said, both Mark and Kevin to kind of look at their numbers, and so we'll send you some updates to that. But Kevin also sent me a note reminding us, of course, as you said, Mr. Chair, about fire and EMS also, but volunteer rescue, all of those are,
right.
we're going to have all those folks able to run in addition to the sheriff's staff. So.
Well, and in along with that, we'll probably need to keep not only fire, but also the volunteer rescue squad involved, in thoughts, and watch that too. Because I feel like they'll see increased cost if they continue running, and if there's any improvement there at all, we're going to see an increase there as well. That'll probably go over what they have budgeted.
Well, I heard a little snippet on the news the other day where they said that at the rate it's going and all this, that they probably is going to be a diesel shortage, that you're not going to be able to get diesel. And so then we got a different problem we're going to have to, address. So, just 2 cents ain't going to help us. It ain't, so. But anyway, we can sit here and that all night, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion second.
All right, Chair, on the motion to adjourn, Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel,
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes.
and Mr. Terman.
Yes.
All right, you stand adjourned. Thank you.